All right, on the program covering the Gen Z Occupy Tuesday. Of course, the idea today is to occupy JKIA in the continued push for reforms in the country. And for this particular conversation, of course, I have my guests here in studio. We have Bonaya Rova, who is the President, Kenyatta University Students Association. Vivian Ta, who is a Communications and Public Affairs expert. Thank you so much for making time. Did you get traffic or out there it's business as usual?
Business as usual. Yeah. Let's just wait and see how things will go. Maybe the occupation is in the other side of town. Maybe that's why for CBD area it's still fairly normal. Okay, but we'll see.
Yeah, the day is still young.
Yeah.
Okay, Patrick Osoyi, who is a leadership and governance expert. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen and lady, for making time for this conversation here and just taking a look at the state of affairs in the country. But before we continue, I do want us to take a look at what the president said as far as these protests are concerned. I don't know, do we have that ready? Okay, so let's take a look at that.
Walisema tusipitisha finance bill. Mimi nimewacha finance bill. Nikawaita wakanasema hawataki kuja kuzungumza na mimi. Wakaniambia niende huko kwa X. Mimi nikaenda kwa X. Wakatoroka huko hawakukuweko. Wakaniambia tuitishe mazungumzo. Nimeitisha mazungumzo, wamekataa. Nimewaambia wanaendelea kusema wao ni faceless, wao ni formless, sijui wako nini. Mimi nimewaambia sasa, my friends, you know, I have given a chance to everybody to say whatever they want. You know, it cannot continue like this. The country is much more important than any group of people. We must stand together as a nation, protect our nation, and make sure that Kenya is a democracy.
All right, Vivian, let me start with you. The country is more important than any group of people. Suddenly it has stopped being, you know, a national kind of outlook. It has become a small group of people that are disrupting peace in the nation. And also, this is a man that in a few days was a little bit humbled, but seems to have been pushed to the wall as from what he's actually saying at this particular moment. When you see him speak like that, after the weeks that we've been able to experience, putting him in the country, of course, and unable to fly out, what do you make of that?
I think I can tell from his body language, he's clearly frustrated. Even just how he's speaking, is a frustrated president. But he brought himself to this place. Because had he been listening, way before even like the vote of the finance bill happened, these are issues that would have been resolved. But, you know, we know President Ruto is, you know, we know him for his arrogance and just getting his way. And I think he did not foresee that things would build up to this point. So from where I sit, he has himself to blame. Had he just handled things a little differently, been more inclusive, then we would not be at this point. And to make matters worse, he dismissed the entire cabinet sort of to placate, you know, the public, only for us to get, you know, 6 out of the 11 currently, you know, nominated already. 6 were from the previous cabinet. It's almost like saying there are no Kenyans, there are no other Kenyans who can serve in that capacity. Either that or he's beholden to these people and sort of maybe they've held him captive or maybe they have agreements the public is not privy to that he can't get out of. But I just want to say this, you know, this situation is very similar to what happened in the Velvet Revolution in the Czech Republic in, okay, it's now Czech Republic, it was Czechoslovakia then, Czech and Slovakia, and in 1989. And the president at that time, it was a very communist government and there was push for more inclusivity. And what happened is the president said he was going to reshuffle cabinet to include more people, the Slovaks, the Czechs more, and he didn't. Out of the 16 people, out of 21 people, he appointed 16 communists again, which just served to, you know, fuel. The protest had already started over other issues, but it built, you know, to now more demands. People wanted inclusivity, people wanted change in governance, more or less what's happening in Kenya now. And he made the same mistake. He said, I'm going to reshuffle the government, and he ended up still putting 16 out of 21 from the same, you know, party,
Okay.
which people didn't like. And eventually it ended up to President, he was called President Gustav, having to resign. And, you know, the government changing hands.
So when you look at the current state of affairs in the country and the move that the president did make recently when it comes to nominating, that is 6 members from his previous cabinet to be considered for appointment in the cabinet that is looking forward to forming, is it a mistake?
I think it's a mistake. I think he needed to have a little bit more. If the public were concerned about the competence, about issues of merit, about performance, he himself is on record saying previously that, you know, for most of his cabinet members, he knows more about what's happening in their ministries than they do, speaking to the level of competence.
Okay.
And part of the reason why we are here is because of incompetence about how public resources have been handled. Case in point, the debt issue, and we have corruption issues, simply because the people in charge of these dockets are not competent, you know, or do not have capacity to hold these offices. So this was his opportunity to make changes, to be more inclusive, not just in terms of age or, you know, demographic, but also regional, like, balance. This current cabinet already has, I think, 6 people from one region, Mount Kenya. So already there's, even before the next second batch is named, already there's an imbalance. And people are saying, when we said we wanted a change in governance, this is not what we had in mind.
Okay.
These are not our aspirations.
Surprisingly, the previous panel that I had, somebody did mention something to do with focusing more on competence as opposed to balancing regions and something like that. So where do you balance that? Because you're looking at forming a cabinet that is the face of the nation, but at the same time you're looking at putting people that are going to do the job in those particular dockets. So do you focus on competence, or do you focus on balancing the region so that you have a cabinet that is the face of the nation?
You focus on both. Kenya is not short of people who are educated, whether from Turkana or Marsabit or Mombasa or Busia, you know, wherever. Kenya is not short